And this is our 2024 Promaster Super High Roof.
So the first step in doing a van build is to start taking things apart. You have to be a little nervous here when you're buying a brand new van and start just taking it apart willy-nilly. Again, I don't know what I'm doing. I thought this clip was one of those pop-out tab clips. I later found out I was wrong, so I'll show you the difference. This is a pop-out tab, so you get your screwdriver up underneath the first head, pry, it opens up the tab, and then the screw comes out. I struggled way longer than I care to admit. You'll see me use multiple tools here to try and get it out. And eventually find out that it's one of these screws, so obviously you're not surprised that I couldn't get it out. At one point I even just pulled pretty hard and I hear a noise, hoping that I didn't break anything.
Oops.
So then you see me realize it looks like a screw, it feels like a screw. I'll unscrew it. It didn't come out. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll save you the secondhand embarrassment and just get right to the brute force, which in the end actually worked pretty well. Finally, after getting this ugly thing down, we can go to the other side, because what you do to one side, you do to the other. You think it'd go much smoother, but you can see here that the second tab is in this little indent that you can't get the hammer into. So instead of getting creative, I just decide to brute force it and pull it off and deal with the tabs later. These tabs are the same as before, just get your hammer up underneath there and pull real hard and they'll pop out. Once the tabs are out, you can carefully remove the headliner to expose the wires up underneath there if you plan on spraying some sound deadener and insulation up underneath. Now here at the door panel is where I really start to shine, because this is where I thought those pull tabs were, the original ones that I was trying to get out earlier. And here's me showing the camera really well what these screws actually look like. Did a good job there, Jamal. Yeah, real fine job. So after all that hard work, I take a look at the insides and, well, I get a little nervous, so I think I'll just maybe put that right back there, and I'll come back to that later. And since I did such a fine job with the door earlier, I figured I'd move right along to the back doors. These are the same before, same pop tabs, so stick the screwdriver up underneath the first head, wiggle back and forth, and out they come. And wouldn't you know it, it's the same scary insides as earlier, so I'll leave one tab in and come back to that later. Here I'm trying to show you what I'm taping. There we go. And so we're just trying to access as much wire as we can to make sure we get full coverage of the tape. That way when we paint, it won't be everywhere.
I'm probably going to reach in and try to move things out of the way when I'm spraying in there.
That was a little foreshadow, but spoiler alert, I was spraying that like it was Frank's hot sauce. At this point, I'm just kind of over it, so I just start taking everything off and exposing everything underneath. And I realize I'm probably in over my head, so I just sit there and stare and think about how I'm going to tape all these mechanisms. It's a problem for another day. I'll just keep removing stuff. we really did try to get in every nook and cranny, tape off as much as we could, but some of these small spaces were just really hard to get our hands into. Later down the road, you'll see that I end up just stuffing foil back in there to kind of panel it off the best I could and still have access to the sheet metal to spray. This is up in the headliner, so taping every individual wire. Later I found out that you could probably just unplug these from the light bulbs, maybe grab them all together and just wrap them up in foil. It would have been a lot easier, a lot faster. So after taping everything off and protecting everything, we're going to scuff the paint. Somewhere on YouTube we watched somebody do it with sandpaper, and when we attempted, we thought it just took too much off. So we decided to stop that and maybe use the scuff pads that the directions actually recommended if you read those, which I did later, but more on that at a later point.
50 degrees, 60 degrees one day, -10 the next.
Negatives are a joker.
It's cold here in Minnesota. Really cold. Colder than I'd ever want it to be. But this brings up another point about reading directions. If you read the directions, it would say store the lizard skin somewhere warm. I think it says 50 degrees, I don't remember now. Well, when I got it, we live in a 3-story apartment building, and I didn't want to carry it up 3 stories, so I put it in the van for a couple days before I stored it at my in-laws. And don't think that I didn't read the instructions. I did, to some degree, the details I wanted, but I missed some things, like the scuffing and the storage. But the storage matters, and so we were scuffing late February, early March, maybe a week before we were about to apply it, and then I read this little detail about storing it at a certain temperature, and that it could go bad. And so now, the day that I'm supposed to paint, I'm a little nervous that I'm not going to be able to use any of it. And so when you open your box of lizard skin, it has this thermometer on it, which tells you if it's good or not. The clear means good, and the purple darker color means that it's bad. The whole application of lizard skin has been planned around the Minnesota weather. It's usually pretty cold here, but we had a break in the weather. And so up until this point, I've had a couple frustrations with that, and I called Cody from Lizard Skin a few times about the application of this. He said that it would be okay on a fairly warm day above 60 degrees, which it was going to be 60 on the dot, that if I just warmed the inside of the van with some space heaters, the substrate would be up temperature and you could spray it, and it would be fine. Until I saw that the lizard skin was potentially bad. Cody from Lizard Skin was great. He kept reassuring me that it would be fine. I called him again when I opened these buckets and saw the purple. So I probably called him 3 or 4 times that day, and he reassured me as long as the paint mixes up, turns into a milkshake-like consistency, that I can go ahead and spray it and it's going to cure just fine. And lucky for me, he was correct. Everything went fine. It was a long process, spraying it, 2 coats, just making sure you get full coverage and all the nooks and crannies. It was exhausting. It's not very fun. It's loud with the air compressor. Can't drink any beer. But in the end, it was worth it. I think it made a huge change with the sound in the van. I didn't do any real-world testing for you to see, but Explorers.life does many tests. You can go over to his channel and check those out. That's what I did, and it was enough evidence for me to support my decision in buying this. Again, read the instructions. It's very important. They said don't use painter's tape. I thought it would be okay, but it was hell trying to get that back up, and then we had to redo it all again so that way we could spray the ceramic insulation. So read the instructions before you do something.
Hey Jamal, what's your opinion on using painter's tape for lizard skin?
Absolutely. Read the instructions. It says, do not use painter's tape. You should use automotive tape. And I cheaped out because we had painter's tape, and it was a mistake.
How's that going over there?
Tell me about it. We weren't even informed